I'm Leta. That's my mom. That's human being. We are good.
And that is how she introduces everyone. Um, I am absolutely terrible at doing introductions to the point that the web overlords, when I introduce our guests, will go, "Hello, this is an AI produced podcast. Um, do you mind introducing yourself to our guests so that the computer overlords don't think I'm one of them again?"
Sure, sure. I don't know what the computer overlords are gonna think of me, but I like human beings, Lita. That's like my favorite so far. That's as far as I can tell, I'm a human being, although I have feelings about that sometimes. Like I think maybe I'm another species and I'm like pretending to be a human being, but I don't really know anything about any of that. In the things that people usually think, are these beads that I'm playing with messing up the sound?
No, no, feel
Okay.
free.
Okay.
I've already lost the Lego bricks I was using to fidget spin, so I'm doing.
Okay. You have the popper. I love the popper.
I,
Yeah, just tell me
you're
if
the
you can
best part
hear
of the
them
set.
and you want me to stop. Um, so yeah, the things that other people usually think I'm supposed to say about an introduction are like, I'm I'm autistic. I am also trained as a speech therapist, but I don't work really through that lens at all anymore. I now work as a coach with other neuro complex or neurodivergent adults and some children and teenagers on nervous system stuff, and I use something called the Safe and Sound Protocol, which, like, basically, like, exercises your nervous system through this special music. And I was so excited to learn about you all's podcast because I am a longtime dancer. I love dance, and, I grew up dancing, and I think it was a place that was, like, really, both that and making, like, drawing and painting art were places that were so, went so well for me, because I wasn't diagnosed until actually last week I got the official diagnosis. Um, and so everyone just thought I was like so sensitive and so difficult. And I think that what happens in the dance experiences I had was like, I knew exactly what was expected of me. I knew exactly what was happening, and I didn't have to, like, navigate anything social. I just could be like, "Oh, just, like, tap my little foot. Great, I could do that." And I loved it. Yeah, so I thought, like, "Wow, a whole, podcast about autism and dance, like, this is amazing," and I just wanted to meet you both and um, yeah, anything else that you would wanna know about me?
Pretty sure we'll figure it out as we go.
Yes.
But yeah, I love the part. So I have had to remind myself I am not late diagnosed anymore because back in the day, I was considered late diagnosed and I was like 11 when I got my ADHD diagnosis. And it was a huge deal. Oh, you are so old. Maybe it's because you're a girl. And it was even, they originally diagnosed me with ADD, which, isn't even a thing anymore. And now then they were like, "Oh, no, it's ADHD." And they're like, "Oh, you are so late diagnosed." And now all these old people are like, and I mean, looking back, they're not old, they're my age, but
Oh,
I can't even imagine getting that diagnosis. No.
yeah. Yeah,
And I've
it's
told my
making a lot
parents,
of things make sense.
I do love the fact we now have neurodiversity because back when I was a kid, it was like, "Hi, I just have this long list of issues." And now it's like, "Hi, I'm neurodivergent. Would you like to know which flavor of neurodivergency I have?"
Yeah, yeah.
As someone who was diagnosed later in life, how did that affect you? Because I'm always interested, what was it like not, it's not that something's wrong with you, but not knowing what made you you?
Yeah, I mean, it was for the most of my life, something was wrong with me, right? It was like, something is wrong with you, but I happen to be extremely strong academically, so I can do book learning like nobody's business. And so, like you said, the like, maybe it's because you're a girl. Like, for me, it was like, you're so smart. You're doing all the school stuff. So there's nothing wrong with you. Like, so you're just being sensitive. You're just being difficult. You just need to stop crying. You need to stop fainting. You need to stop like crawling under the table and going to sleep when we go to restaurants. Like you need to start talking to other humans and have friends and, all these things that I was like, no, I was just one of the questions on the um, autism evaluation was, do you often find yourself in dark rooms? And it's like, oh my gosh, one of my biggest conflicts with my father growing up was that he would come into my room and I'd be like on the floor in a little corner in the dark doing my homework. And he'd be like, turn the lights on, you're going to hurt your eyes. I'm like, no, the lights are hurting my eyes. Use the desk I bought you. And I'd be like, I'm going to fall off the chair. Like, I couldn't, I still like sitting on a chair. I'm like, what's about to happen? I feel like, I want to be on the ground. I want to be in the dark. All these things that were just me being difficult. Now I'm like, oh, I'm autistic. Like, of course, like me never wanting to eat anything. All I would eat was grilled cheese. Like, okay, now if I had had the diagnosis, basically I would have a completely different life story. But it's kind of it's hugely meaningful now to be like, oh, I'm not just difficult. I'm autistic, and everything I've been saying about my experience is real. It's not me being a brat. I didn't need to try harder. I didn't need to be less sensitive. Like, I actually, in my work now, see that like the level of my sensitivity is what makes me able to do this work. It's what makes me able to like connect with people and be able to be that validating support to them. If I wasn't so sensitive, I wouldn't be able to do that. And so, yeah, it means the world to me. Just is like, I think most people in my life day to day are probably going to be like, nah, like you're just trying to be like everyone's autistic. That's a lot of things people say now. And I'm like, well, I was having what you called panic attacks for 20 years, and now I'm not because I'm accommodated. So if I had a true panic disorder, like that wouldn't be possible, So it's interesting.
I like to make fun of my little sister who's right under me because she's an engineer. And on top of it, she's one of the first physical engineers in this country. And she's like, no, we all sit there wondering because we're like, it's a new thing to be autistic, but none of us are like different. And I'm like, I don't know if
She has a child that they're like diagnosed. Also, no offense, has she met my cousins? It's the same age. My cousins.
her aunt and everyone she's with, like my nephew went to Rubik's Cube World Championships this past year, and her entire office was like, that's so cool. I'm like, you realize in the neurotypical world? And she's like, no, but like, that's just what you do, right? I'm like, it's because you're surrounded by engineers. So to you guys.
Yeah, you're all autistic, right? Oops, you're muted.
She's like, no, only a few of us have like ADD or ADHD. And I'm like, in the dark ages of the 80s and 90s.
And she met her youngest child. That's typical, but somehow it's still breathing.
Did want to also ask, Leta, if you want to go see if, both puppies decided they're coming down because your dad came home and he opened a door.
Puppy.
But
Leta, I think, has a great point about the like children. Like a lot of people are getting diagnosed because their children get diagnosed. And then they're like, oh, wait, it's amazing.
Laughed because when we got her diagnosed, there were some tears in the office. I will be completely honest because I'd been doing the red tape for other people for years and was like, OMG, Frank. Oh, that's the name of her developmental pediatrician. We were on a first name basis. That's always a good sign. I'm like, I don't get how I'm going to get through the red tape. And he's like, honestly, most of the time it's more, what is autism? And I'm like, dude, like, are you kidding me? And he's like, no. And then he's like, but she could turn out completely normal, like, you and my son. And I'm like, your son's a neurosurgeon. Let's put a pin in that and circle back. But her developmental pediatrician who diagnosed her was diagnosed with autism in the really dark ages because he was a kid when he was diagnosed. His son is my age, and his son was also diagnosed. So at least he's just like, yep, this is going to be fun. But I will say there was definitely different from me because a lot of parents are like, oh, so you were diagnosed after her. And I'm like, no. I started speech therapy at 4 back when, not everyone was going to speech therapy back in the 80s.
Mm-mm.
I had a teacher who forgot. It sounds stupid now, but at the time, looking back, it's like, yeah, that was just the autism in me. Uh, in kindergarten, we had the letter of the week. Well, when they decided who got to take it home every week, I was in speech therapy. My teacher forgot that she never gave me a letter.
Oh,
And I run into her sometimes and she's like, how do you still remember that? I'm like, hi, I was one of the kids on an IEP back in the 80s when none of us had. And a girl on an IEP, do you know how difficult that was?
yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Um, but so I'm always interested to hear because I was brought up that there was something wrong, that I needed to fix all this, which thankfully we've gotten away from that. But I'm always curious to the people who were brought up without that diagnosis and how that, affected where they went in life.
Yeah. I mean, I've been trying to fix myself my whole life, right? And then when I finally realized, wait, and it's just been in the past couple of years because I was given every psychiatric diagnosis. I was told I was borderline, I was bipolar, I was depressed, anxious, PTSD, CPTSD, every diagnosis you could think of. And they tried all the things and it never really worked. And I just kept being how I am. And uh, I've had so much interpersonal conflict, like I've had such a hard time with family members, I was married for 11 years, like that was so difficult, so much conflict. And if I had just known, like, hey, I'm wired differently, hey, I communicate differently. Like my kid is now 14 and he is just getting into sarcasm hardcore because a lot of teen culture is sarcasm, right? And he now realizes I do not do sarcasm. I will never get it. I will not ever pick it up. And so he'll be like, that was sarcasm immediately after he says something because he knows I'm just like, what just happened? I don't know what you're talking about. So, yeah, the amount of fixing myself that I tried to do, oh, it just took so much of my life force energy. I feel like I'm 90 years old, more than 45 years old. And to be able in the past couple of years to be like, hold on, there is a world opening up where people are acknowledging like this is a different wiring and it's not a wrong wiring and there's not a communication problem. Being in the speech pathology world for 15 years, it was a communication disorder. And I love the new research that they've done around. Have you seen the one where they have autistic people play the telephone game and then they have allistic people play it and they all do fine and then they mix them up and it's like a completely ridiculous. So nobody has a disorder. They're just literally speaking different languages and to be able to find this out and be able to still be alive while all of this is happening, I feel really lucky, honestly, because I could have spent the rest of my life, feeling ashamed and trying to fix myself.
And it has gotten a lot better because I kind of understand sarcasm, probably because I had psychiatric help to understand sarcasm. But I know we've talked a lot to parents. She has gotten her dad's and my bad dark humor from all this because I just went out and did, I don't do neurotypical. I'm just going to marry the guy who stops in the middle of the road to look at rocks with his professors because he's a trained geologist. And it is amazing until you're stopping in the middle of the interstate. And that's when the neurotypical part of me takes over going, hi, interstate. They're going 85 miles an hour because we're in the middle of nowhere.
No. I think that's just the survival instincts kicking in. I think that's the instincts of survival kicking in. Wait, you have instincts of survival? Wait, not just me who has instincts of survival? Wait, are you telling me you have instincts of survival? I'm sorry.
But I mean, watching the therapies change where it's no longer like when I was a kid, I went to the psychiatrist to learn how to be a friend. And it was, well, you need to be a chameleon. You need to do whatever they want you to do. You need to learn their likes. And I have run into people I knew in my childhood and they're like, you are a totally different person. I'm like, no, I just spent multiple hours a week learning how to be who you wanted me to be. And I didn't like that person. But now you're seeing, and I wonder if it's partially all these parents coming in or it's my age group growing up going, yeah, we're in charge now. Who cares? And you're seeing more and more, like within our dance studio, I've had to stop parents because they're like, oh my God, they're stimming. And it's like, stop, walk away if it's annoying you, but they get to stim.
Yes. I am so grateful that you all are modeling for other parents because I feel like that's a really particularly tricky experience to have the patience and the grace to support the other parents in letting go of all these rigidity things. Like for me, when I'm around other parents, I'm like, why are you doing that? Stop it. Like, I have a hard time having grace for it. And I want to be like, no, if you have an issue, just like you said, you go take care of you, but there is something really important happening with this stimming. I mean, in the speech pathology world in public schools, it's like always paired with ABA. And I am sure we have similar feelings about ABA, and I could not do it. I could not do it, and I would hide children in my office. Yeah, Leta, that is exactly how I feel about it.
She had 5 weeks because Frank promised me it had changed enough, and he may have gotten a phone call from me going, you have 2 options. You either be the bad guy and you revoke this authorization as of immediately. This is what went down, or you can bail me out. And he's like, well, you're in Brevard County, Florida. I think I like our chances with the sheriff. And I'm like, no, bad doctor.
Well, better than my teacher from Montessori. I still don't know how the therapist walked out with a bloody nose after they went to just have a brief chat.
She was 3. She was in Montessori. They brought in an ABA therapist into the Montessori. Those two worlds do not mix well.
Bloody nose on her last day.
How did that happen?
And it's broke.
Because
So the story I've heard from the adults was that the ABA therapist was just being a klutz. She walked into the wall while talking to the Leta's preschool teacher. They don't know what happened. But could I pretty please get the authorization revoked there too? And I'm like, we're working on it. This is her last day.
gosh, yeah. Thank God that people are realizing, but I will tell you what is still rampant. There are still huge groups of people experiencing ABA. And, it took for, it's still queer people are experiencing conversion therapy. And I put them in the same category. It's like,
They
torture
be
to try to
insane
make
considering
someone
that it's the
operate in
same
a
guy
way that
behind
they
both
are
of them.
not literally wired. Is it?
And that's, I know a few of my political friends are like, why aren't we going to get, because Colorado is at the Supreme Court right now fighting to keep conversion therapy illegal. And I'm like, y'all didn't ban ABA. And they're like, but they're not the same. And I'm like, unfortunately,
They are the
Same
same.
person.
Oh my gosh. That makes so much sense because I have always felt, they recommended conversion therapy for me. And it's a more complicated story, but I did not end up having to have the actual electrical part of it. But I got plenty of it in terms of the mind psychology of it. And it's one of those things. It's like being queer, being autistic. This is in my, speaking of DNA. Like you can't punish me enough to get it out of me. And, on one hand, I feel like if you look back to indigenous traditions, ancient wisdom traditions, the neurodivergent who would be called nowadays neurodivergent people and the queer people were the spiritual people of the community. and it was valued and it was made space for and it was supported and celebrated. And those people were guides because their sensitivity and their ability to see possibilities outside of the norms was like right at the surface. And that is such a beautiful offering to the collective. And to try to ugh, torture that out of somebody is a wild reality that we're living in.
The history, I think a lot of parents, because we have a rule at the studio, you are not allowed to tell me your child's an ABA, or you will get my full opinion on it. And a few parents have gone, well, it's not that bad now. And I'm like, but they won't let you back there. You don't know what's going on. And they're like, yes, I do. And I'm like, And it was funny because her Montessori preschool teacher was like, well, I've heard of this. This should be good for her, because all her teacher wanted was to be able to communicate to Leta.
She didn't think that after she met the therapist, and she suddenly ended up with a broken nose on her last day.
But Montessori, is a lot different. She went to a true Montessori school in the Montessori system. Her teacher was like, we take this at Leta's pace. But even when we went to get the IEP, I was like, you need to shut up. I need them to deny me services so I can get this over here in the private sector. We just need them to tell me she doesn't qualify. And her teacher, I'm sitting back there going, thanks for being the bad guy and yelling. This is not what you're supposed to be doing. Because she's like, all I want to know is how to communicate with Leta. I ask Leta to wash her hands, and Leta starts having a meltdown. And I know she can't understand me. And I feel so terrible. I have pushed her into a meltdown. And then I see the head of the public schools open up their file and go, oh, you didn't tell us she was aggressive.
Yes, but not the boy throwing every shit. Get his hands on. Oh, and also, I don't think a bunch of kindergarteners need to be told what a crush is, since that boy obviously did not like anyone, since that boy was literally choosing violence towards everyone and anyone. I seriously hope that boy got help. Seriously, I hope he got help. He badly needed help.
Yeah.
So why would you try to convince a bunch of kindergarteners that boy likes it? Legal.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's freaking never loving cement once.
Wow. Yeah,
But
the whole inner, like, how gender and sexuality gets intertwined with how we explain human behavior is so wild.
her Montessori teacher was sitting there going, why is her having a meltdown? Because she didn't understand. I said, if you wash your hands, you can have a snack. She's like, no, you don't understand. The meltdown is because she didn't understand me. And I'm sitting there going, you can continue having this conversation. The school system's not going to understand you, but please continue wasting.
And she also wanted the boy with friggin' anger issues to get help. Seriously, I hope he got help.
Well, his parents were trying the same thing. They're like, he's throwing stuff. We know it's because he can't communicate with us. And the school system's like, well, I mean, he's a boy.
Right. Two
So,
versions
it
of how to
feels,
not help somebody.
it fails the boys just as much to allow them. But I was laughing because it's the first time I had ever been in an IEP meeting where the teacher is having the argument going, no, you guys are reading this room wrong. And I'm like, yep, this is going to go well. And they're like, well, we're bringing in the ABA therapist that the insurance is providing. And I'm like, and her teacher was super excited. She's like, this will help us out. And I'm like, I don't think you understand how strict ABA is compared to Montessori. And her teacher was like, do they know what children are? And being mom, I'm just sitting back there laughing, going, this is not how this is supposed to go. It's supposed to be mom. I think the educator's not mom going, I told you this was going to happen.
I mean, that therapist didn't even want children anyways, because apparently children would have ruined her life completely.
The
it
ABA
was
therapist
also-
didn't want children.
Leta's had multiple therapists who have made it clear that they are child-free because they don't like children.
In the world, it's something people have to pay for, and another bill in somebody's check. Bill, I'm just a bill. I ain't a human, I'm a bill. I'm just a bill.
How does that feel, Leta?
I don't know. Apparently, you're not legally human until you're 19.
Yeah. I think that is a wild. I hope that people like you, Leta, who are able to connect and share at this phase of your life, can help parents in particular, but also educators understand that, like, totally disregarding a child's autonomy because they just happen to be smaller than you is there's no sense to be made of that. And that was one of the big reasons why I couldn't function in the public school system, because I was treating the kids as important as the adults. Like, if the adults were like, "Oh, you need to change the way you say this," I'd be like, "Do you care about that? Like, do you want to change that? Because if you don't want to, then I'm not going to," and considering them fully human from the day they're born. And yeah,
Now, I will say at the dance studio, we have had discussions on how the adults need to change
yes.
how they're saying stuff, because I know it annoys the parents, but dear parents, it's helpful to me to know this thing. We have a much better, I hope, in our opinion, IEP that we make every parent fill out about their kid before they come in. And I'm like, I need to know all the other diagnoses, and they'll come back to me with, they have speech difficulties. And that told me nothing. And the parents are like, well, that's what their therapist said. Can you please call their therapist? Can you ask them for the actual diagnosis, where they are in the diagnosis? And then I'll go to the teachers and go, okay, here's the diagnosis. Here's how you need to communicate with this child, because this diagnosis means they're processing this way. And the parents are like, what's going on? I'm like, they never sat down and told you what that diagnosis means, did they? And they're like, no, they just said this. And I'm like, okay, so your child doesn't understand this right. So if you change how you're saying it, you can now communicate. And they're like, oh, my child's talking now.
Pretty empowering to be able to understand how someone else is experiencing something and then change your behavior to support that, rather than asking them to do it the way that you understand.
We're seeing some weird stuff, and you're a dancer, so you'll understand that some better than some of our other guests. We have had kids learn 3-point turns in less than 3 months. And their parents are like, yay, they learned something. And I'm like, hi, let me explain how long that takes in a neurotypical studio.
Mom, just let them be naive. No offense to you, Mom, but you just so learn how to automatically switch which universe you are in. That would be helpful to everyone. Why am I the only person who seems to have an automatic switch for when every single time I end up in a different universe? It's automatic switch. Can you make it?
Which universe
I'm
are you
44.
wanting her to switch to?
Let's see, the rest of society that isn't dancers or in Congress or reads medical papers. Let's see. Different universe.
Just assume they don't know.
That's what she's saying. I mean, I got the PhD in physics, and now with all being CEO of an autistic dance studio, I need to go down the rabbit hole of all the autism papers. I mean, we can't do it without the science behind it.
But you seriously need to remember these are normal people in normal day life that don't this stuff, so you have to baby talk them and not the babies. So you baby them out to listen their parents. So you need to baby talk them. You need to remember you talk to people. Baby talk. Remember it. Please. Stay.
So she did have one speech therapist when she was starting to talk at 7 go, aren't you excited? And I'm like, let me explain this to you, because obviously in your training, this never came up. She has not spoken before now. She is now dancing with high schoolers. She is learning her English in with 16, 17-year-olds. The youngest she's with is 11, which means preteen sass.
Plus, I don't know how to talk to Gen Z.
Ignoring that fact, I'm sitting there going, I'm looking forward to this, but don't you want, yes, I want to communicate with my child. I am not a terrible mom. But on the other hand, do you know normal parents get baby talk? Then, the cute little sounds, then baby talk, then little itty bitty deals. They don't get teenage sass as their first words.
Everybody else thought it was cute.
What was your first word?
So the first one anyone could actually completely understand was shuffle.
Shuffle. That's a great word.
Then we quickly moved on to like heel, toe, and then
Ball
it was. How'd you get? We're talking grapevine, and then mom was later. Mom's not important.
Leta, do you
Like,
hear
Mom?
tap sounds in your head? Like when you're not tapping? You don't.
She did. That was last year when she was 6 and learning the terms. I think that's last year she'd heard the terms though, because she went from that to a year of like tap 1, tap 2, COVID happened and she started working with professionals, and professionals don't tell you to shuffle. They just go, need to do bada bada dum boom. And so then she went back into studios and they're like, give me a ball change. And she's like, could you talk that in choreographer talk? And it didn't happen. Then they came out to me going, we think she might be mentally the R word. Because she can't understand what we're saying. And I'm like, none of you worked professionally, did you?
It's a different whole language. Which do you
Yeah,
prefer,
and
Leta, being around professional choreographers or being in a studio?
No offense to any of my mentors who are listening to this. Babies.
Yeah.
Babies. I prefer babies.
Yeah.
Babies.
she prefers working with the babies over anything else in dance.
Yeah. What do
I
you
mean,
like
they're
about
totally
it?
goofy.
Goofy.
And they're goofy, and they know it. And some days I think they're literally doing the goofiness on purpose just to make people laugh because they just don't like it.
Like 0 to 3, is that the age you like best? Or like 4, 5, 6?
If it's younger than me, and it's a baby, so yeah.
Anyone younger than you? I love kids too.
She really enjoys working with the kids. We've been out without the studio for a month as we're recording this because they decided not to go through with our lease starting December 31st.
Oh,
And she cannot wait to get back to her baby. She is going through baby withdrawal.
baby withdrawal. Do you know that you're going to be back in the studio soon?
We just signed the lease on our own space.
Hey.
So we signed it yesterday. I still need to fundraise to make sure we can keep the space.
Yeah.
But it allows us to, she and our other teenager are going to do Thursday night and Friday night classes, which we've never been able to do after school on Thursday and Friday nights. And then there's 2 spaces. So we're going to start looking for volunteer teachers. Hopefully we're a nonprofit. I prefer volunteers to paid staff.
Yeah.
And maybe some paid staff to come in and do some classes. And then hopefully next year we'll be able to extend to Mondays and Wednesdays. We've already got Tuesdays had already been going and Saturdays. So we'd like to extend to there. And then Sundays, we're going to leave free for rehearsals. And I'm going to start TED Talks with Amanda, where I'm going to bring people in to explain to these parents everything they did not know about autism.
Amazing.
So remember, you have to baby talk them.
Record those TED Talks, huh?
Right. Because we've got parents, and I'm not blaming the system, but they don't know what SLP is. They don't know what OT is. They don't know what ABA is. They don't know what PT is. And I know I'm throwing out the acronyms because, I just grew up with them.
Yeah.
They don't know. We have the number one complaint in our studio from the teachers, and to the outside world, it sounds like weird. To the autistic world, they're like, I agree.
The AAC, please. Please.
We have parents, because they've been to other autistic activities or to other dance studios, or even we have some school teachers here who do not know what an AAC is. And they're like, leave your AACs at home. And so they'll leave the AAC at home. And our teachers are trying with the new kid all class to try and communicate, to try and figure out why they're not responding, why they look. And then they'll go to the parent afterwards and go, hey, I just need your help. What am I missing? Like, are they doing ASL? Are we going to have Amanda and them ASL issues? Because the ASL I speak is very 80s, 90s. And, Gen Z and Gen A are messing with our ASL. And then the parents will go, oh, I have their AAC in the car. I just didn't think you wanted it in the studio. And the teachers will be like, please bring it. I need the AAC.
And just bring the AAC, so you just told me the tiny thing doesn't know sign.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Also, even if the tiny thing knew sigh, I'm concerned whether or not it's appropriate sigh.
That's a different subject because, yeah.
I mean, there are still schools that don't send the AAC home. And it's like, what? How, what, where, when, why? I was doing mostly AAC at the end of my public school work, and it just went so poorly because I would put on the devices what the kid actually wanted to talk about. Then the ABA people would take it off, and we would be back and forth and back and forth. And I slowly became very unpopular. But yes, the AAC, it goes everywhere. It becomes, you're attached to you anywhere you're going, whether you're dancing or wherever.
We've had parents who have I get it. They're not from the community. They don't know the autism world. And they're like, well, I'm concerned about the screen time. And I'm like, well, the moment you remove the AAC, you've removed your child's voice. This is like Ursula and Ariel.
And
they're
that's a
like,
great analogy.
wait. And I'm like, you're now holding it because the parents are like, well, I'm holding onto it most of the day. I'm like,
Yes,
so
let me
like,
just hold the only way you have communication hostage. I'm
Yeah.
not acting like it at all. Except Ariel gave up her voice free will, and these children aren't.
Yeah.
And Ariel gave it up free will.
Yeah, I think Ariel was in a bit of a coercive, narcissistic, abusive relationship
Still
with
free will.
Ursula.
She was. Legally, still free will.
I don't know.
free will.
I don't know, Leta. I think she was being manipulated.
it's the fact that parents have looked at me going, wait, you mean they can't communicate without it? And I'm like, okay. I think I need to bring in some of my friends from the hard of hearing community to explain some issues with signs, because it's cute when your 3-year-old messes up certain signs, because those of us who know what that means, we find it cute. When you are the adult,
It's cute when you're an adult accidentally sign to your child how your child was made. Also how hormones work when you're older.
there are some signs that are so close to food signs for reasons.
That's not cherry. That's not cherry. I wish it was cherry. It is not cherry.
Do you
She's
speak ASL,
heard
both of
not
you?
fully what it is, but yeah. And they're like, well, I got it from my hearing, speech, and language pathologist.
Stop asking him to learn sign and go to somewhere else, please, for the sake of my sanity. To me, having some sort of innocence.
But and I'm like, learning sign from someone who's speaking, who's always learned it from someone who's speaking, is kind of like high school Spanish. Good luck using it in the real world.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's not dissing the speech and language pathologists who are doing it. It's just they weren't taught by a native speaker. So
I mean, it is unethical to teach sign that's not actual sign. So I think we could be critical of the speech pathologist, but
she had a speech therapist who was doing something, and I'm like, I'm not even going to touch it. But it's the things like that I mean, most of our kids are getting their therapies in the school systems. They're not like Leta in private, but even the private therapists, they don't have time to sit and talk to you. A lot of these parents, it's the primary care doing all the diagnosis and overseeing. It's not, Leta has her developmental ped, she has her neurologist, she has her behavioral psychiatrist, because that was non-negotiable for us.
Well, 40 minutes. Well, 44 minutes.
But they don't have this. I mean, your developmental ped and your neurologist are also, and let's throw the behavioral psychiatrist in there. If you spent 18 years studying autism, you're probably autistic yourself.
that's
And they're
interesting.
not the sweetest. I don't think she's had a single person at that level that is not autistic. And like you said about the telephone thing, we communicate differently. So I think their bedside language is perfect. And these parents are like, they acted like I was stupid. And I'm like, well, because you... and I'm like, I get it. They have to not call you stupid because you're the patient's parent. But on the other hand,
Unlike my mother, they don't put all of humanity on this pedestal of smartness.
I will have my sister's permission to discuss this one. She had all the kids. She has the majority of the nieces and nephews. She had my daughter, Leta, over there. Her son had a seizure. She's like, we're all going to the ER because none of you are old enough to stay by yourself. And I am not waiting to call someone to go, hey, I need to take the kiddo into the ER for a seizure. And they get there and the neurologist walks in. The nurses had all been seeing him, recovering from the seizure. So they knew he was the patient. The nurse walks in, makes a beeline for her. And my sister's like, and that is when I realized Leta's having a silent seizure while he's having a grand mal. He's like, the doctor is acting like she's stupid. And she's like, I'm just going to let you get through this. And then I'm going to mention he had a grand mal like an hour.
What's
And
a silent seizure?
I mean, and it was when she was having a lot more silent seizures. And my sister was like, she's like, any other parent at that point in time would have been going, see to my kid who had the grand mal. And she's like, yeah, he's past the, critical phase. She walks in and she's like, the one in the active seizure gets, and I'm like, yeah, but see, that's the autism neurodiversity. And you, little sister, is you're like, that one, important. My son, we're with the medical team already. But those were probably her worst thing in dance, is she got yelled at multiple times for not paying attention during a silent seizure.
Yeah. What is a silent seizure?
So a silent seizure, and I've had to explain this to parents too, because I've watched their kids and gone, that's a silent seizure. You seize, but you don't have the seizure where people can see it. So you're locked in your body, like where grandma, you're on the floor.
Yeah.
Some silent seizures, you can do a little bit of communicating, but you look like you're in your own world. You look dazed. You look like you're not actually there. And we got lucky. She had one in her her developmental pediatrician's office, and her developmental pediatrician went, "You didn't tell me she had silent seizures." And I looked at him and went, "I didn't realize the 3-year-old had silent seizures until now." And he's like, "Oh yeah, she's seizing." And I'm like, see, this is where parents do not like your guys' bedside manner, because that's what I want from my medical personnel is, she's seizing, let's deal with the situation, not freak out. But most parents would like you to freak out at that point.
I suppose it's the funnest way to have a panic attack.
Well, that's what I was just going to say, Leta, is that I used to have what they called panic attacks, but I was telling them it feels like it's a seizure. And I tried to get like a doctor to listen or to care, because it feels like I'm not in charge for a few minutes. And like you said, sometimes I can't talk. It has happened way less often since I have like such a more accommodated life. But wow, I'm gonna look that up and learn more about it.
I would, if you just got diagnosed, I would definitely look it up. For girls with autism, it's in the 70 to 80% range that they will suffer from silent seizures sometime in their lifetime. There's so many physical issues that come with autism that parents are just not informed. They think it's just a learning disability. And it's like, okay, let's start talking about the heart problems. Let's start talking about the GI tract issues.
Yeah.
Because we've got a parent who's like, my kid is not potty trained. And I'm like, yeah, have you been paying attention to the studies? If your kid is potty trained by 8, and they're like, wait, well, that's because they're not understanding. I'm like, no, the studies are showing that their body doesn't understand.
Yeah,
Their colon and their GI system doesn't get the signals.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to tell your body if you don't have the signal. And parents are like, no one told me. And I'm like, okay, well, then we need to have discussions on this. Boys, the grand malls is somewhere over 85% of autistic males will experience at least one grand mal in their lifetime. You've got the issues with lungs, you've got the issues with, it's like there are all these physical issues. That's why you need to get out of your pediatric office and into like a developmental ped who knows how your child's body should be going, and then behavioral strength just for the heck of it, because it never hurts to have more people on your team.
You've got the heart.
I thought I'd put that in there. But yeah, heart issues, enlarged hearts, small hearts. I mean, it's just, and your developmental pediatrician, they spend 18 years learning way too much stuff, because that 18 years is once they graduated high school. That's not including their schooling.
We're at 50 minutes. If you want this to go an hour. Sure.
Thanks. But yeah, we've decided we are going to need to have a lecture series where we do also bring in developmental peds to explain what they do.
Yeah. Well, if you ever want a SLP who's not really an SLP anymore, I'm happy to connect.
We may have to have you Zoom in. It's going to be small groups at the studio of like 12 parents or less. That way we can actually answer questions. Because, I mean, as a public school SLP, how often did you actually get to sit down and talk to parents outside of an IEP meeting?
Never.
Even when they're sending me, oh, my child has speech delays. I understand what you just said. That gives me about a gazillion options over here.
Yeah.
Or we have parents who are like, well, I have them in ABA, so I don't need to have them in SLP. Okay, let's ignore my opinions on ABA. You need to have them over here in speech. Well, but I was told ABA covers everything.
Strong and good.
Keep muting myself. Then even with the SLP, we're starting to find more and more that dyslexia is a phonetical issue, which we've known for 30 years. But hey, we'll call it new science for those. And parents are like, oh, so they just need hooked on phonics. I'm like, that's not what I said. There's an auto processing
Yes.
issue. I will joke because I'll be right. They make me write everything. I'm like, so she's a severe dyslexic, but I have a major dysgraphia problem. And parents are like, oh, someone told my child has dysgraphia. So like, is that they can't read graphs? I'm like, you guys are, you can't be the best advocate for your child.
There's so much information for people to know. And, people like you and me, we're like, information is our special interest, right? So we just want to read and learn and know everything. And then there's these other humans that, like Leta, you were recognizing, come in and they have these children. And this is not in their like framework of how to be on the planet at all. They don't want to read the research. They don't want to spend their entire life understanding every nuance. And how do we like help them support their kids without requiring them to get a PhD in it all? It's complicated, but I'm so glad you're going to do that series. And if you can record it, I'm sure it's something that people, down the line would love to have access to.
I definitely think we're recording it and we're opening it up to the entire community, not just our dance studio, because we may hit you up for that one.
Absolutely. Anytime.
I did say we were going to keep you to an hour and it's gone so long. Is there any chance we can have you back on the program at some point?
Oh yeah. I love talking to you. I'd love to anytime.
So this doesn't go hour. Where can people find you on socials? So this doesn't go hour.
Yes. So I have a YouTube channel and it's at The Rooted Co-op, TheRootedCoop. And then my email, my website is therootedcoop.com.
And we will make sure all of that is in the description below. Thank you so much for coming on. We had a blast.
I like talking with you.
Thank you for dealing with the teenager. She has no filter.
I didn't have to deal at all. Leta, I really enjoy you. I think everything you shared was really interesting. And I am so grateful that we got to connect. And yeah, I feel like the only people I have to deal with are autistic adults.
I feel like I have to deal with all the neurotypical people. And I'm like, I'm at the point of, I just don't want to deal with you guys.
Yeah, I have carefully curated my life, so there's very little interaction with
someone has to interact with them for their kids' sake. But thank you so much for coming on, and we can't wait to have you on again.
Okay, have a great day.
Bye.
Hello, thank you for watching the cafe. Please subscribe and also look at the adorable people. Just to also subscribe for it, and also please do the next. And don't forget to use this Leta festival with Emily Airline new podcast with you. And also, did you see that adorable people? Just like it.